There's something powerful lurking inside Moho. It's liquid shapes. Roll the intro! Among the most common uses for liquid shapes is effects, using these shapes to morph with each other or repel each other or even mask out different shapes and objects. Victor Perdez, is it Victor Perdez? Let's type in liquid shapes. Yeah, Moho. Victor Perdez? Victor Perdez has an excellent tutorial on how to use liquid shapes, what the different functions are, and how they work together. I myself have used liquid shapes to create fire, or waterfall, or even orb. This glowing, ominous orb. All of these were done by Victor Perdez that I followed tutorials on, so if you want to learn how to do that, you can do that. Follow their YouTube channel at Moho Animation. I really want to talk about liquid shapes in more of a rigging context. How can we use liquid shapes to help amplify our rigs and create some really cool effects? Well, let me show you what I got here. This is Todd. He's been designed and redesigned many times by me on my channel, but unfortunately all of those designs were done in After Effects, and you know how I feel about After Effects. So I thought maybe I could redesign him in Moho, a more powerful software, a better program. And then I got thinking about liquid shapes. He's kind of this amorphous blob. He doesn't really have a lot of definition to his shape, and he can kind of squash and stretch and do all these weird things. And I thought liquid shapes would be perfect. So I want to show you what I came up with. If you watch this video and you find it interesting, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It'd really mean a lot to me to help this little channel grow and allow me to continue making videos for you. Let's get into the tutorial. Right off the bat, I want to show you what can be done with liquid shapes. So if you notice, his head is round and it kind of it curves nicely into the body. So when I move his head, do you see how it squashes and stretches? Now, none of this was rigged. This is all the mathematics behind liquid shapes, which is causing this to morph together. If I pull it apart, you can see it's just two circles, but when they touch, they converge. And he can squash around. And the cool thing is that the head rotations work as well. I want you to notice the way his neck squashes into itself. Isn't that just so beautiful? And it got me so excited to think that maybe liquid shapes could be potentially a really, really powerful tool, especially in rigging. Now you'll notice that when he rotates his head, his shoulders will dip or raise, and that's because the rotation of the shoulder is attached to the rotation of the head. And I did that out of necessity. If I didn't do that, the rig would break. So he needs his shoulder to drop so that it doesn't cut into his head. So you'll see here, it would have done that. And that's not ideal. So let me just solo out this body and I can show you how it works. All right, so now we have the body soloed out. The body is really just two shapes. It's a round kind of belly and then a round head. You can think about it in this way. If I have a circle here and a circle here, and let's say that we give them, let's give them a different shape or a different color you can actually see. All right, now that I have a shape I can actually see, I'm going to select my top shape. And if you're not sure if this is the shape that's on top, well, one, you could actually change the color. Might as well do that. And two, if it is on bottom, you can always hold Alt and push up, and that's going to bring your shape to the top. Now that my shape is on top, what I'm going to do is select it, and it's going to control what the whole group is doing, or the shapes below it. So I'm going to come here to my Add option, click it, and then I can have this new option here called Blend. And if I adjust the blend shape, you can see immediately it starts to smooth that curve and it creates a nice blend to it. And you can bump that pretty high actually. Let's go to 10. So now if I move this, you can see how that works. All right, and so these are the concepts that I'm working with. This is the fundamental principle behind this here. Now on the body, I've got a bunch of shapes, but they're not all interacting in the same way. Some of these elements are on top and they have no liquid shapes attached to them at all, such as the ears and the hair, but others are interacting in a different way. Let me show you. So for instance, I have this shape here, which is the shirt, and you can see it's being masked out by the body and the head. Everything below it is kind of masking out its shape. And the same thing's happening to this collar here. I also have a little shadow here. And how is this working? Well, let's go ahead and make another shape. So let's come over here. If I duplicate this layer and add another one, hit Q, I can change it to intersect. But nothing happens because I need to change the color. So let's darken it. Look at that. And again, Victor Pérez talks about this extensively. He will go into depth about what's going on. I'm just kind of giving you an overview of the principles that I'm using. So this would interact down here as like the shadow. And you can see I have it reversed so that if it's down here, I just pull this little point in. Maybe I scale this up and then scale this, we'll say to 0. And this is just going to give that kind of like lower shadow. All right. So this was a very crude attempt at doing that, but you get the idea of what's going on here. So this is essentially how the body was set up. So now let's go ahead and look at one other thing that we got going on here. I have added a sleeve to this. So the sleeve essentially is masked out by the body and it moves around as such, almost as if it's behind the body, but it silhouettes kind of the overall shape of the sleeve so that when the shoulder protrudes from the body, you can see the cap of it, the top of it. And the reason that I have that is because when the arms are on, if the arm is behind the body like it is now, I want to be able to see the top of the shoulder. But if the arm comes in front of the body, I don't want to see the top of the shoulder. I want to see the sleeve, but right here where the armpit meets the body, I don't want to see a line. And so what this is doing is it's allowing me to see the top of the shoulder, but not the outline of the sleeve, so that I can draw the sleeve in on my own right here on the arm. And that's what I've done. And so if you don't know, this is done with the switch layer. So right here is my arm. Right up here is my arm. Sorry about that. And this is essentially just a file or a group. I'm sorry. It's like a folder. And inside the folder is the arm along with a blank vector. And so I use the blank vector as an off switch. And then when I switch it to the on position, I turn the opacity of the arm on and the vector off. So it switches between the two. That's kind of how switch layers work. And so as I rotate this control, it either turns it on or off, on or off, on, off, on, off. Very perfect. I love this. Another cool thing about how everything is kind of like grouped together is I have this ability to squash and stretch the body. So you can come up or down And it gives this nice organic shape so that when it squishes, it's almost like a balloon, you know. So as you squish a balloon, it doesn't just go, no, the sides come out. Or if you stretch pizza dough, it doesn't just come out like a tube. No, the inside scales into the middle. And that's squash and stretch. And you want to make sure your volumes still feel like they have volume to them. And that's what's going on here. And the way to achieve that is if you hit B with that bone selected, you can come into bone constraints and turn on squash and stretching. So if I don't have it on, let's see what happens. You see what I was talking about? This is that kind of idea that you're not actually stretching it, you're just scaling it. Okay, so there's a big difference between scaling and stretching. You know what I'm talking about. So for that kind of a bone, I like to keep the squash and stretch turned on. So before I go on any farther, I want to talk about the face a little bit. So there is some liquid shapes going on in the face, and it might not be where you expect it. It's actually here in the eyes. So what I want to do to show you, because right now there's no stroke, these just look like two ovals to create eyes that are really close together. So let me turn on the stroke. I'll make it black so we can see it. And then this eye here. What's going on here? Let me just turn that off. All right. So you can see how liquid shapes are really great for this kind of an eye setup. So if you have a stroke around your eye like this, an outline, this works great at creating that merged look. Kind of what I'm going for here, except I just don't need the stroke. And what's really cool is that it interacts with each other. So for instance, I have a blink attached to this. So if my character blinks his eyes, you can see it move. They work together beautifully. And I've since destroyed this rig. So let me see if I can mask this, and it's supposed to clear the selection. Why aren't you? Oh, there we go. All right, so now this should be working properly. So we've got these really cool eyes that can blink, and I have them set up so I can kind of manipulate them in a certain way. This brings me to one of the most interesting parts of this whole rig that I didn't expect to happen. And I'm actually quite pleased with the way that it turned out. In doing the hand rig, you know, I was trying to think of the traditional method of rigging a hand, where you have individual fingers that have a stroke around them so that as they come in front of each other, you can still see the definition of the finger that's in front versus the finger that's in back. But when I rigged it, it kind of did something unexpected, and let me show you. So I have a hand that has the ability to have 4 fingers or 5 fingers, and as it moves, do you see how it squashes and stretches? It feels like an organic kind of webbed shape. And then I put them together and realized I can have this kind of Muppet hand when it's all together. And then if I need to, I can separate those fingers as need be. And this got me really excited for like kind of a new concept in animation, because you're always looking for something that's interesting that's going to stand out. And I feel like this is just the thing. To have a character who can either have a Muppet hand, which is all just smooth like a mitt, or go into this open-fingered concept is really interesting to me. And honestly, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't quite know yet if this is perfect, but it is interesting, right? You can agree with that. And you have the ability to scale in and, you know, so he could be doing like a peace sign. What's up, guys? Yo, yo. Another cool thing is that none of the fingers are fixed. So I could rotate this hand in the opposite direction if I needed. Just move this finger over here, rotate it around, and now it's the back of his hand. Okay, just scale the thumb in. And the way that this arm is rigged up, it's not very interesting, but just to show you, it has the ability to move this elbow, which I always love. It just gives more flexibility to your character, so that if you have them with their arm up, let's say that you want this shoulder or this elbow a little higher, you could do that, or a little lower, you could do that. So always trying to get the most flexibility out of my characters. Look at that. If you're interested in how I rig this character, or you want to learn more about rigging in Moho, I have several courses on my website, backwoodsanimation.com, where you can go and check out the courses that I offer and see if it's beneficial for you. So feel free to check out those courses, links are in the description, and I hope that I can help you in your animation journey. Now let's get back to the tutorial. If we come back to the shoulder here, I'm going to show you this. I love how the shirt moves with it, and this all has to do with liquid shapes. So I have this nice little control here which changes the collar position. So if it's just not quite where I want it to be, I can always adjust it. Or if it's too high like that, I can move it in. Just again, trying to add that flexibility wherever I can to have a rig that's really versatile. Another cool thing is with the hips here. So as the hips rotate, I just love that everything's locked in and it feels so clean, so that the rotation pivots around the actual shape of the body. So it's not hips that are necessarily moving, it's just a shape moving within the confines of that masked body. I probably butchered that explanation, but let me show you. So as the hips rotate, the shape of the hips rotates, but the shape of the body, which is the actual mask, stays put. It's not moving at all. And this kind of dictates the outline of the pants. So if the hips are moving, they can go wherever they want. The outline of the pants is always going to be predicted or determined by the outline of the body. So I can move these hips back and forth and look great. Another thing that I've done with the pants is I've blended this leg shape. So this is just a larger leg shape than the shape of his leg. And what that does is that creates the outline of the pant leg. And this is attached to my leg bone. So when the leg moves, this shape moves with it, creating a pant leg that sticks to the actual leg. I'm sorry, this can't be too confusing, right? You understand. Anyway, I can make the pant leg or the short leg bigger or the same size as my leg. It really depends on just whatever I'm feeling. Now, if I wanted the pants to be longer, why do I keep calling them pants? Shorts. I could always drop. That's not the one I wanted. I could always drop them down like this. And then, for instance, let's see how it moves. There we go. Now you can see one of the limitations that I've kind of hit here, and this will take a little bit more work, is when the pants come together, they merge, creating a kilt. I don't want my character to wear kilt, but this would take a little bit more effort on my part to figure out how to create a line or a seam in between them. To be honest, I don't think it's going to be that challenging. It'd probably just be adding a different pant leg on top of this one so that it moves with the leg, but it's not visible at the seam here. And the whole reason I'm doing this, the only reason that I like this, is because of this shape that it creates right here at the pant and in the crotch. This is why liquid shapes is so powerful, because it creates a nice organic mesh to your objects. I love it. That is exactly why I've done this, and that's why I want to share it with you, and maybe you can create something better or find better solutions than I have. Let me move these pants back up. So that's the pants. Now I want to move on to potentially another one of the coolest parts of this whole rig. And that's the feet. Now, I made these feet out of liquid shapes. Everything on this is liquid shapes, if you haven't guessed. But I want to show you this cool little thing here. Are you ready? I can move the foot left and right, or up and down. Okay, so it's not, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but if you have a very cartoony style, I think that this works pretty well. It's not too bad. I would probably need maybe a little bit more of a rig here so that it can move that toe or that tongue center. But really all that's happening, just in case you're wondering, is look, it's a circle coming into a square. And that creates our foot rotation. I want to show you this again. It's just a nice foot rotation. Can go up. These feet can go up and down, whichever way you want, okay? This, in my opinion, is really, really interesting. And also, just so we can talk about it here, this is just like a little bone that I have here for the toe. I have a bone here for the foot rotation, and then I have a bone here for the toe. And what I did was attach basically everything for the toe attaches to this. So this shape here, which is kind of the, I guess, the trim of the shoe, that's attached to the toe. The toe itself is attached to the toe. This shape up here, which is kind of the top of the foot, is attached to the toe. And as I move them around, the idea is that it's going to give kind of this perspective switch in the foot, like it's rotating. And again, it's not perfect, but I do think that it does a really great job of explaining and getting the point across that this foot is either in front or to the side or up or down. I think down looks better than up. I might need some smart bones or something added to this to make it look a little bit better. Because I think the silhouette of the foot looks really good. So if I pull this away, that right there, you can tell that's a foot lifted up. Okay, foot down, foot up. So potentially, I don't know, I might just take that off. Keep a simple shape. It was really fun getting to explore liquid shapes and how they could be used in this capacity. Rigging a character with some very organic shapes that morph and blend together is kind of the ideal situation for any rig. You want them to feel alive and organic and not stiff. But the beauty of this rig comes down to its simplicity. If you have a rig that's very complex, meaning the outfits are ornate or the hairstyles are very difficult, this probably won't work. Now, you could probably use it in some aspects and really find it beneficial. But I think the true nature of this rig just being a bean shape with some squishy arms, hands, and legs coming out of it, it makes for a more practical use of liquid shapes. Now, if you can find a better use for it in your own rigs, maybe even in a complex rig, I'd love to see it. Share that work with me, share it with the community, and tag me in it or reach out. I'm always curious to see what other people are doing with these concepts. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great creative day.